Hi, my name's Paul, and we're in the Cave studio at the control desk, and this is a tutorial on DMX. Admittedly, the Cave is not primarily about lighting, but as we use it for training of videos and outside events, and having the ability to control lights makes this all so much easier. We had to first create a setup that suited our needs. Here in the Cave we have 9 fixtures. We have others like lasers and scans that we use at outside events, but we don't have unlimited space, so we choose what we felt would work best in here and also for any external small events. So our fixtures had to be versatile, something worth thinking long about when selecting your setup. So currently we're running 4 small robotic spotlights. These units allow the controller to put beams almost anywhere. Each unit can create 7 colors, multiple effects using gobos and strobing. It also used color cycling too, just to give it that disco feel. And robots are at home lighting a pub band or burning up a dance floor for a DJ. Next we have 2 moving heads. Color washers double the strength of the spots. These give a wide, bright color wash with the ability to aim them direct from the controller. Again, they're versatile, able to strobe and spin with the music or help flood a stage in color, setting a mood. Lastly, we have 3 wash cans. These have no movement, but do give us full RGB color choices, as opposed to the 7 set colors with just under 500 LEDs. They pump out a lot of light, especially when it's set close up. So that's what we use here. Scans and lasers for another day. But we'll look at what we have here and we'll base that on how we put together the DMX system in the Cave. So what is DMX? Well, DMX simply means multiplex signal carrying protocols. These are sent from a controller to any receiver that it's connected to. So what does it do? Well, generally lighting. But it's not limited to lights. It may operate FX units like smoke machines, bubble machines, dry ice, air cannons, snow machines, anything that could read the multiplex signal you could attach to the line. This is why all items on a DMX line are referred to as fixtures, whether it's a humble single coloured pin spot or a large 1500 watt smoke machine. It's a fixture. Setting up DMX. Now, in order for the right fixture to receive the correct information, you must assign it an address within your DMX world. Just like we receive email and other information because of our IP address or cards and letters from our street address, the signal must know where to deliver the right information. Each fixture has channels, from 1 or 2 channels to over 20, depending on what the fixture does. These channels control things like brightness, color, and movement. Determine how many channels of information you will require at the address, and it depends purely on how that manufacturer has set up the fixture's control. There is no set protocol requiring channels to use the same setup. What channel 1 or 10 is used for is specific to that manufacturer. So if you have 2 fixtures that look alike and have the same features and similar amount of channels, but they're made by different manufacturers, they may have their features on different channels to each other. So check their manuals, and if there's a conflict, place them on separate addresses. This is almost always the case. So between addresses, you need to leave enough spaces to account for the channels held within a fixture. Now, to make this easy for you, some controllers will give you a set of addresses based on the amount of fixtures it can control, and will space out the addresses with a set amount of channels to each address. You may not use all these channels at some addresses, but it's better to have too many channels than not enough. Okay, let's look at some examples. Now, you may have noticed some discrepancy between the actual address and the numbers that are used in the DIP switches. DIP switches are a very simple interface used to assign a binary code. Now, don't panic. You don't need to start studying binary. It's just a group of switches that are either 1 on or 0 off. There are 9 places. And this is the very basics of all computer language. If you have more numbers past 9, I'll cover what they do in a minute. Okay, so if our starting address is 1, the binary address will be 1 as well. If we allow 20 channels per address, just to be safe, so you may not need or use these channels, the address would, let's say the address was 21 for the next address along. First address was 1, the second one was 21. Then the way you would show 21 in binary is 1, switch 1 down, switch 3 down, and switch 5 down. So you select these 3 numbers and place them on in the on position, usually by moving the switches down, but check in your manual. Now, if your next position is 42, in binary, that's 2, 4, and 6. Now, before I explain how to do this the hard way, let me just say that there are DMX binary calculators on the internet, and often they are found in the manual of the controller. So why does 246 equal 42? Binary switches don't represent the number of the switch, its location. So 1 to 9 is just how they line up. The numbers actually double as you progress down the line. So 1 would equal 1, 2 would equal 2, 3 would equal 4, 4, 8, 5, 16, 6, 32, 7, 64, 8, 128, sorry, 9, 256. I'm a little slow today. Let's look at 42. So if we looked at 7, it's too high because 7 is 64. But 6 is half of 64, which is 32. So if we add switch number 5, which equals 16, we end up with 48. That's too high. But switch 4 equals 8. So 8 plus 32 equals 40. So we're getting close now. So now we find that switch 2 just happens to be 2 as well. So that brings our total to 42. Now, the confusing extra dips, often your smart fixture will be capable of several settings, not just DMX. It may have an auto setting or a sound active setting. These are often set at the dip switches too. So check your manual how they have this set up. I find on many occasions all switches off is auto setting, where the fixture will cycle through its abilities, change colours, strobe, etc. If it's a movement or motorized, it may spin at this point to a random or predetermined program. In some cases, you need to tell the unit it's in DMX mode. Once again, refer to the fixture manual. But I found that dip switch 10 switched on is what some of the manufacturers are using. Also 10 is also used as a test function, but more than 9, and your manual should explain what they're there for. So if it doesn't, give your local manufacturer or whoever you bought the unit from a call or send them a message and ask them to explain exactly what the extra switches are. Okay, some good news regarding setups. of addresses, and that is that dip switches are becoming more and more obsolete. The more you spend, the more technology you get, and most high-end products have gone digital. And the use of LED readouts replacing dips, for these just add your address, no need for binary code. So if it's address 1, put in address 1. If it's address 28, put in address 28. Don't need to work out any binary codes. But like I said, if you do need to work out binary codes, simply go on the internet and put in DMX binary code calculator, and you will find calculators that will help you very quickly. Okay, the DMX board that we have, there's a lot of boards out there which are on this sort of basic area, and a lot of people say, oh, but they only have 12 fixtures. But you must remember, so you can have, say, 5 or 10 cans quite easily at the one address. So if you were doing a small stage and you had, let's say, 20 cans, and you put 5, 1, and maybe 2 sets of 10 at the back, that's only 4 addresses, and you've got 12 addresses to play with, so you've still got plenty of room for spots and strobes and all sorts of other little things, smoke machines that you can add to it. But most of the smoke machines nowadays operate with these little fob machines, so they're radio controlled. So at the desk, you just need to have your fob machine handy and press of a button, and away you go. And you can actually get them so that they go onto different channels, so you can distribute different fog machines, or you can have them go at the same time, so you can have 2 machines going simultaneously. Okay, so the actual DMX board, we'll have a look at the DMX board. Nearly every DMX board is split up into 4 sections. The first section is the fixtures, and that's usually on the right hand side, and it's usually a row of buttons. The smaller units is a minimum of usually 12 fixtures. We'll take some photos and show you these now. The next section are the channels. Now this is all your sliders, and quite often you either get 12 sliders or you get let's see, we have 8 sliders here that we can double. So we hit a button and they go to 16, and you just start again from the top. So okay, so it's what they call page A and page B. Across the top you'll notice the word scenes, and there are 8 scenes, and then there's what they call a banking unit over here, and we have probably 30 banks. So every time you create a setup, you can lock it into one of these scenes. So we'll just press one button, and all of a sudden the lights do one scene. They go to one position. Now, you can chase these scenes. So all of these buttons then go into a chase unit, and these chase units, you've got, 6 chase units on this particular one. We can have 6 different chases. You have to check your specs, but they'll hold an immense amount of scenes. Now, you also have how long the scene lasts for and how long it takes to switch between the scenes. So this gives you more control over the unit again. We also have manual, auto, or music activated. So you can set this up so it goes to the mixer, and as soon as the music starts, then bang, you keyed in your chases to go exactly with timing of those. So these controls are quite powerful and will run a lot of lights. The termination points, at the last fixture you have, you'll have an out to go to what would be the next fixture as not being there anymore. And you can buy these little termination points that go in there, and they help strengthen the signal. They're more for if you've got a really big system, a lot of wires and long runs, etc. Quite often you'll need that. If you've got a small system, a little DJ thing with probably a 3 meter overhead truss, I wouldn't bother too much. I think you'll find that unless you've got a lot of signals coming from a lot of places, you won't get too much interference. But they're cheap. Once again, these things are cheap. They only cost $5, so it doesn't hurt to have them in your kit bag. And then if you run into problems, you can always whack one in, and it should hopefully boost the signal back in the line. Okay, so I hope I've demystified DMX. Just remember that when we're born, we're not stamped as an airline pilot or a lighting technician. Everything in life is a learned experience, and it's not always as hard as we think. So from me in the cave, I'll catch you again next time.